Bill, this is the final jobs report for President Obama. I would suggest you want to step forward that this is a constructive jobs report for President Trump as well.
Yes, and I think a little schizophrenic, as you just pointed out in the last minute or so. Jobs grow strong, but wages revised down by 0.2%, and instead of 2.7% annual, now 2.5. I suppose that's good for corporate profits to keep wages down, but ultimately we know that it's consumers and consumption that drives the economy, and if they don't earn enough money, or if their money is only growing at 2.5%, then that's a slow growth economy. So sort of schizophrenic report, and I can see how markets might interpret it one way or the other.
I want to bring this right over, Bill, to the bigger picture this morning. Again, futures advanced, Dow futures up 95, not near the 20,000 level, but I like what Bill said there about a schizophrenic tape. Bill, if we get a reflation, from where you sit, is it a reflation that gives us an inflation boost, or can we actually hope that the real economy will boost with the Trump stimulus?
Well, sure, and that's the hope that real GDP, which is now around 2%, and actually for the quarter with the Atlanta Fed above 3%. But the hope is that we're in a 3 to 4% real GDP economy. That was the promise from the Trump administration. That's the hope in terms of fiscal policy and stimulation, deregulation, and so on that we look forward to. I remain skeptical, I guess. I remain, of the camp that the productivity is the key to real GDP growth. We know labor force growth is less than 1%, so it's all productivity. And what produces productivity? Investment. Investment hasn't been there, as you've discussed, for the past 30 minutes, and to the extent that it remains anemic, then productivity will remain anemic. And I think we're stuck in a 2% real GDP world, no matter what the fiscal stimulation and no matter what the deregulation.
One of the exogenous shocks, and folks, we have to remind ourselves that Mr. Gross for decades has had an international perspective where dollar dynamics really are there. A key conversation, Bill, this week was with Barry Eichengreen of the University of California at Berkeley, and Professor Eichengreen was adamant that Mr. Trump will lead us towards dollar strength. Do you show up at every day at Janus just assuming dollar strength?
No, I mean, the dollar's had a good rally, and certainly against some emerging countries like the Mexican peso, a significant one. So I don't assume continuing dollar strength unless, the Fed stays ahead of the ECB or the Fed stays ahead of the BOJ. And, at the moment, that's not the case. Both those central banks are still, stuck on quantitative easing of significant proportions, and that's led to the dollar rally, and that's led to stronger growth in the United States. But, I think there's some catch-up coming into the equation from Japan and from Euroland. Their growth rates are close to 2% as well. And so, dollar growth and dollar appreciation is certainly not assumed. I don't think we have a new Plaza Accord ahead of us in which the dollar, the strong dollar, threatens the global economy and we have to take some significant measures. I don't see that.